Hi everyone, Monique here, Intuitive Soul Savant. Welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new here. If you're new here and you'd like to understand more of what we do, just jump to the playlists and go to challenging aspects with the Pluto transit, and that has the most videos there, and they are ongoing. Okay, so hopefully they may help you. So everybody, today I have something a little different for you. A couple of days ago, I was choosing a rune. I've had my runes for over 30 years. They've been so helpful through all my rock bottoms, and especially the dark night of the soul. And they really helped me before the expansion of consciousness pre-2012. So I was picking a rune, which I do daily, and 2 runes came out, and I don't normally take 2 runes, one's enough. However, when I took these 2 runes out, my guides, I'm intuitive, my guide said, this is to share. So the first rune I'm going to present to you today, and the next rune I will present to you in a couple of days. So the first rune is called ISA, I-S-A, and it's represented by a capital I or an L, whatever you want to look at it, just a straight horizontal line, 180 straighty, ISA, and it represents standing still, withdrawal, and ice. So this rune is very relative to the dark night of the soul that we experience when we're having a challenging Pluto aspect, either a conjunction, an opposition, or a square. And the signs that we'll be experiencing this for 20 years will be Aquarius having a conjunction, Leo having an opposition, Taurus and Scorpio having the square. So I do have some notes. I could have just read from the book, but I'd rather go through it step by step, unpack it a little bit more. Sometimes when I read a rune, you read through it quickly and you don't actually digest what it's saying. So this is a reflection on the rune ISA relative to what we experience in the dark night of the soul, and especially the death. This would be the death, okay? So it is representing, this rune, the winter of the spiritual life. Now here in Australia, our winters are quite mild compared to many countries around the world. I've just actually walked along the beach barefoot. Okay, we're in autumn here. Another couple of weeks, we're in winter. And it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful day here. However, I know you guys in the northern hemisphere have winters so cold and snowy that you stay inside for the whole season. I mean, that's mind-blowing to us down here because we have snow in Australia, but we go skiing, or we just stay inside around the fire and enjoy the company that we're on the ski slopes with. So you guys in the northern hemisphere that live in those very cold climates, you will be able to relate to the winter of the spiritual life. However, we can too. But for me, I find that really interesting to stay inside all winter. So the dark night of the soul is the winter. This rune is the ice. We can find ourselves when we enter into this dark night of the soul that we're entangled in situations that we're unconscious to. As Ralph Bloom puts it, we're in effect blind. So we enter into our dark night of the soul and we start to awaken to the fact that we're in situations that we weren't consciously aware were not for the best of us previous to our dark night of the soul. So we can feel powerless in these situations. And what we need to do is we need to submit. Pluto wants us to submit to the death and the transformation and the rebirth. We need to submit and definitely surrender. Pluto requires surrendering to the transformation that the energies of Pluto will bring about in your life. You may have to sacrifice a long-cherished desire. Now, in my case, I lost a business, being a mother to my son, my home, and my sanity, I believe, for a couple of years. So I had to sacrifice my ego and those things that I thought were the path that I was supposed to take. You may have to sacrifice a relationship. I've had to sacrifice my family, my parents and sisters. I've had to sacrifice them. There are sacrifices, not for everybody, but for some. If they're not serving you, those relationships, they need to be sacrificed for you to move on to your true potential. We need to be patient in this dark night of the soul. We cannot push the river. We need to surrender and allow our journey to take place. There's a period of gestation that precedes our transformation and our rebirth. So there is a cycle that needs to happen for us to eventually move into our rebirth, okay? So anything, you know, that you want to nail, any positive accomplishment, it's unlikely in that dark night of the soul. The whole idea is for us to stand still, as this rune reflects. We need to stand still, stop. We could feel a drain on our energy. So we can't really go out and make stuff happen from our ego's perspective because we don't have the energy to do that, which is great because it makes the path a little easier. And that was the frustration that I had, because previous to the dark night of the soul, I could make anything happen from my ego. Ralph Bloom has beautiful words to describe a dark night of the soul. He says, a chill wind reaches you over the ice flows of old, outmoded habits. A chill wind. I think that's beautiful. It's cold. It's uncomfortable. And the outmoded habits, they're habits, patterns that no longer serve us and will no longer serve the journey forward after the rebirth. We will need to look at some of the habits that we have, addictions, relationships, codependency. They're all habits. They're all patterns, all traits that we've taken on to survive in this world. And these things are going to be changed so that we can move through onto our true potential. And we can't hold on, okay? Because holding on will result in shallowness, a shallowness of feeling. Pluto wants to go to the depths of our soul, to dig deep, to get rid of all those old moded habits. And that perpetuates the condition of the dark night of the soul. So we can't hold on, back to surrendering, submitting. We've got to let go, we've got to shed, and we've got to release. We're not actually doing anything. All we're doing is surrendering. However, as the process goes on and the days pass and Pluto makes different aspects to your natal chart, that's how it all happens. We just have to surrender. There's no works to do anymore. There's no doing. There's being. And this is uncomfortable for us. Of course, this isn't easy. We've been doing, we were taught to do. And Pluto comes around to transform us into being. And then we can co-create with the universe. But that comes later with our rebirth. We've got to look at what we're holding on to that causes and perpetuates the conditions we're in. Shed, release, let go. We've got to look at our life. We've got to look at our relationships. We've got to look at our values, our desires. These all need to be evaluated. And with the connection to your higher self or God, whatever you choose to call superconsciousness, you will know the path to take, but you need to reflect on your life first by surrendering to standing still. And doing this will bring on the thaw, the melting of the ice. We can't, this is the difficult, we can't rely on help or friendly support. Now, that doesn't mean we have to get rid of all of our friends. That doesn't mean that we can't reach out to any services we need, counselling, social security services, anything that will help us along this journey. What it actually means is that we need to release codependency. No one is coming to save you. This is your job. You're going to save yourself by surrendering to the process of this challenging Pluto transit. It can be very lonely. We've discussed that in past videos. Read some of the comments in the videos. Others agree. It can be very lonely because we are being asked to find our inner power, if we haven't as yet, and to rely on that inner power, and then to integrate that into our lives, our superpower that we had all along from birth. However, it was either taken from us or we handed it over to authority figures. Ralph Blum goes on to say, there's no reason for anxiety. There isn't a reason for anxiety. However, in my experience, there was a lot of anxiety. It was very uncomfortable. I had been a doer. I never stopped. I lived outside of my body. I had been traumatized. I was fight, flight, freeze. So for me to stand still and submit, whoa, it took years. It's taken 8 years. Next month, for me to go into the cave, into the winter of the spiritual life. And it's only in the last year or so that I've been able to slowly come out and to rebirth myself. And that's what will be required. It's not, see, this is what we're going to understand too. Ralph says it's not necessarily the results of our actions. There's a lot of injustice that some of us have to go through. It's not fair. It's nothing we've done. You may like to call it karma. I had family karma. But we have to just undergo karma. We can't condemn ourselves for the karma that we're undergoing. So it's not our fault what happens in the dark night of the soul. So please remember that. You are beautiful, angelic light that is working towards shining and being your potential and sharing that with the world. There's nothing better in my eyes. I just think that's amazing and it's a wonderful opportunity. Please grab it. We can't do anything. What's happening, what arises in our life, what stories happen to each and every one of us, we can do nothing. What's been full must be empty. What has increased must decrease. So whatever we've filled our life with, whatever we've filled our identification with, it needs to decrease. Almost like we're starting again as children. Fresh start, reparenting, renewal of our life. That is the rebirth. It is the way of heaven and earth. It's the cycle. What goes up comes down. So even though in the dark night of the soul, you will at some point think, this is never going to change. I cannot imagine how I can get from here to wherever my dreams were. Nobody's knocking at the door. No opportunities are coming to me. I feel invisible. How could this change? But it does. By standing still, surrendering to your higher self, God, whatever you choose to call it. It's heaven and earth. It's life. Another phase of this ISA rune, it can announce a time of restoration, renewal at the deepest level. That's just what I said. That's the other phase. That's the rebirth after the darkness. So in our solitude, we need to exercise caution. We need to focus on ourselves and be cautious, not taking risks. When we're feeling, you know, it is a wave in the dark night of the soul. And when you've gone through a dark spell, and then you come up to the light, you can see a little light, and you think, oh God, it's over, thank God. All right, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and do that. I'm going to act out of my will because I'm going to go crazy. We need to exercise caution in our solitude. You know, it isn't over until it's over. You'll know. You will know. You will feel it. But when you're in the dark night of the soul, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet. But as you progress along the journey, keep surrendering, learn how to love yourself, learn how to reparent yourself, learn how to self-soothe, connect with others who are going through the same as you. You are not alone. You need to come out of isolation eventually, and you will find others that you can work through this journey. They're all on this platform here as subscribers. I'm working with individuals. You'll all have the opportunity to work with me as a group for next to no money at all, because I am here to help people. That was why I had to go through what I had to go through. And I wasn't ready to do this until I'd gone through that dark night of the soul, because I may have hurt you guys. If I'd acted out of my wounded child self previous to the dark night of the soul, then I could have hurt others. So in hindsight, I'm glad it's taken me this long to have a platform now to be able to help others, because my wisdom tells me, that's why it took so long. I had to wait for this Pluto transit for the healing of the wounded child within. We're not allowed to stubbornly persist in attempting to work our will. Now, I made a video about the fixed signs, and yes, they've been known to be called stubborn, and the fixed signs are Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, fixed signs. Not too keen on changing the status quo. So you can't be stubborn in this. If you want to be stubborn about anything, be stubborn about the personal work that you're undergoing. Be stubborn about that. Head down, us up into that inner work, which will bring on the thaw. It's up to you. There's no time frame. I can't tell you it's going to take this long, it's going to take that long. It's going to take everybody as long as it takes. With me, it took a long time. So the seed of the new is present in the shell of the old. So your potential, who you are, where you're eventually going to get to, is already within you. Okay? You got to trust your own process and watch for the signs of spring. It will happen. You're not alone. Just got to stand still and allow the energy to move through you. And that's what Ralph says. It's rune number 23. It's called Isa. It's just a line. Standstill, withdrawal, ice. So I hope that helps a little. I love the runes, but we need to reflect on them when we read. And that was a reflection of the winter of the spiritual life, which is a dark night of the soul, from a challenging aspect from Pluto. So I hope that helps, guys. And I've got a rebirth rune for you too. The whole book of the runes is about the transformation towards enlightenment. So if it comes up again, look, I'm co-creating. My ego got smashed. Every day I wait on heaven to tell me what my next step is. And I'm not perfect at it. I get frustrated if it's not in my timing. You guys know that, who have followed me. Suffer little children who come unto me, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And that's what Yehoshua said. We've got to go back into the water chakra, where our wounded inner child is, to soothe and to comfort, so that our inner child trusts again. So namaste, everybody. I love you, and I'll see you soon. So far, so good. And I have an announcement on Sunday, the 11th of June. So I'll be putting a video out about that. And I'm very excited about that. As you can imagine, it's been a long time coming. All right, everybody. Have a beautiful day. I love you.